Welcome back to the Build Your Empire podcast. And today we have one of the OGs with us. I have watched this woman online for me, it's been 11 years. So I'm not sure for you what it's been, Kat, but I know it's like in the realm of like 20 years plus, which is really, really, really cool. So today we have Katrina Ruth with us. She is a writer, a speaker, and the woman who is going to kick your butt all the way back into remembering who you always were and then unapologetically helping you become that, right?
Yeah.
How powerful is that? So over the past 2 decades online and a little bit extra before that, she's coached and mentored the highest of high performers, both in business and in sports world. And in general, just anybody who knows that they're in the 1% within the 1%. And the ones that can't stop won't stop. I think you're talking to me right now. But you know what? I'm so excited about this podcast. And Kat's message is pretty simple. It's no, you don't need to slow down and breathe. You need to wake up and live. And we've already started off pretty spicy, but thank you so much for taking the time. I think the way that this happened was pretty funny. Like I sent you a message. Hey, I want to be on my podcast. Yes, please. Thank you.
Actually, it was perfect. And I mean, I would have said yes to you regardless how you asked, but I'm not trying to be like, oh, no one can access me, but I just don't care about doing a million podcasts. And I don't want to put my time into it unless it's just such a like, oh yeah, that's going to be an epic conversation. But you wrote into my DMs in all caps and I was like, that's exactly it.
I loved it. And it felt so right. I was just like, you know what, she'll get it. And if she doesn't, then she won't get it. So I love this. But we've already gone spicy with this conversation. So let's continue it because we started on, sharing what's kind of going on in my life right now, which I won't expand on. I think that the rest of this conversation will. But reining it back in with our kids as we've showed them how to be unapologetic, confident, the whole you want it, you can have it type attitude, but how we've both realized that like, oh shit, there's another pendulum, there's another side to this. And it is that all of a sudden, I know what we're experiencing is they don't understand what now patience is and having to wait or work for things. So I'd love to hear, I mean, you don't have to go deep into it, but I'd love to hear how you learned that lesson and what that's looked like.
Yeah, I love that you're going there actually, because it's just not like nobody really talks about that, especially in our kind of world of the unapologetic too much woman.
Right. We don't want to admit that, you know what, like in all this, oh my God, you've done so well. We kind of fucked it up.
Yeah. Oh, you can't not. Like, firstly, it's always all like I fully believe that everything gets to be sort of rerouted for good. And that's a biblical truth. And I love when biblical stuff matches the fiery entrepreneur, unapologetic, too much stuff matches quantum physics or whatever, right? But like God, for example, is always rerouting everything for good because by definition, we're going to screw it up. And I guess what I see when I look back over my own journey is I grew up with this fire inside of me, which I think pretty much everyone who's in your community, my community, is going to relate to this, right? Like you always knew you were different. You always knew there was something more and maybe couldn't articulate it necessarily always from a young age. But for me, I remember being super young and just feeling like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do all that. Like I'm not going to live the normal life. And it wasn't even, let me figure out what to do instead or anything like that. It was literally a knowing, right? Like it was built into my original design of who I am. So when I was reading like my dad's Tony Robbins books when I was about 11, I remember thinking, well, that's just who I am. That's what I'm going to do. Like some version of that. I'm going to make millions and impact millions. And it was an assumption. So I grew up with that knowing like that's what's going to happen. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to be really rich. I'm going to be really famous. And for me, it was always like destiny, purpose, alignment, being who you were born to be. That's what I cared about. That's what I wanted to kind of like shake people with. And then at the same time, I was this super quiet, introverted, like teacher's pet, one of the most uncool kids in school. So I always wanted to be the cool one, It was always like, oh, one day I'll be, more cool and hot and popular than all these girls that I'm not good enough for. So a lot of my online persona honestly came from that perspective of like, who's cool now, babe?
Yeah.
And the point,
what about now?
the point of that, the point of sharing all that is I probably swung the pendulum too far because I grew up in a way where I was like the teacher's pet. I was super intellectual. I was very naturally quiet. I had friends, don't get me wrong, but I was in my own little dream world. And I was also like from the Christian family, and my family was kind of weird, and I had all the hand-me-downs. So I had so much stigma upon myself. Like I don't even mean I got bullied or had childhood trauma from it or anything like that, actually at all. It was all my own perception of myself of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're carrying this fire that is like, how the frick do I contain this? And you start to realize, well, not everyone sees the world this way. And then you get a bit older and you're like, yeah, well, I am just going to do that. And I've got no idea how. And then you've got all this stuff to kind of prove. And then maybe, depending how you grew up, you kind of got that bit where I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine what it would be like to have money like that, or to be able to travel or live like that. Because I grew up in pretty, middle class, typical Aussie family. I did always have hand-me-down clothes or hand-sewn clothes and that sort of a thing. And,
Yeah.
We had a great childhood, but we didn't have a laxy childhood. And I wanted all of that. So as I started to build all of that, and it was from that unapologetic, true, like, this is who I am, this is the fire that I carry, that I am meant to share with other women and whoever else wants to grab it for the rest of my life. Like, that's what I was born for. But then I sort of brought this whole wave with me of like, and I'm going to prove to the world that whatever, and yeah, my kids will never have to whatever. And I wrote this post on Facebook like probably 15 years ago. It still comes up sometimes in my memories, and I'm like, yup. And it's this post where I thought I was so poetic. I was like, oh, I'm so profound. And it got so much engagement. It like had that effect. But basically it was like, I'm raising my kids to be wild and free. I'm raising them to know they can have whatever they want. I'm raising them this, and it was actually beautiful writing. But then when I get it in my memories, I'm like, yep, that is what happened. You raised them wild and free with no rules. And then you had to try and like get I don't know, like it's like getting it back into the horse after it bolted the stable sort of a thing. And I guess you sort of realize like, oh, I feel like this is where I'm at. Like 46 years old now. I have been in online business just a fraction under 20 years. That's a long time. I've been in business nearly, well, technically since I was a little kid in some way, but I've been coaching and mentoring high performers for, let's say 27 years now. So that's like pretty much what I've always done in my adult life. And what I've now realized at this point is the intention matters, of course, but also it's not a bad thing if you overstepped the mark. It's not a bad thing if you look back as a parent and you're like, oh my gosh, what on earth did I do? Now, it would be a bad thing if you just kind of kept running with it, or if you didn't believe that there was a way for things to come into alignment. But how else on earth are you going to learn, right? And so a lot of the hard conversations I've had with my kids, especially the last 2.5 years, because I came back to my faith roots as a Christian, and I came back realizing that it's not the religious dogma version that I had. That's why I left, because I felt like I don't want that, and I can't be perfect like that. And also what so many people experience, just religious trauma, church trauma. It's not that. It's supernatural power and authority, in the spirit. And so starting to actually understand true relationship with God, it did drastically change my outlook with money, with business, with being the too much woman that I've always been. And at first I honestly thought, oh my gosh, like I got a lot of it wrong and I need to be more careful now, more quiet. And I like put all my neon colors away. And I was like, this is my beige pastel, mature spiritual version of me. And I was like, she's so boring. I hate her.
Yeah.
And so gradually kind of going through this revelation, like, oh, if you want to talk about God, who do you think made you that way in the first place? But then at the same time going, you know what? I stuffed up a lot. I went so far, like I got the things I wanted. And if I wouldn't have, stepped out of that at some point in these past few years, it would have destroyed me, because I did it all. I created it all. I built what everyone wants to build in this industry. And it was beautiful and amazing, right? Like I'm not trying to down talk it, because I know that so much good came from that. But also it started to eat me alive, because it was like, oh, there's always more, and I can always be better, and I can always have whatever I want. And I. And so I've had to have a lot of these conversations with my kids around like, Yeah, I did go too far, you guys, with money. I was living like I just didn't care. I was just like, oh, another car, another whatever.
Mm.
And I wouldn't do that again. And I'm sorry for some of the lessons I've taught you where I've not actually said, hey, some things need to be waited on and some things need to be seen in a different way. And we don't always have to just have what we want the second we want it. So there's my stream of consciousness for you.
Yeah, it's a wild realization, where same for me. It was just giving them what I didn't have, and then
Yeah.
getting to the point where it's like, now how do we rein that back in and show them, like, you know what, you can't actually be bratty about it. Although we've showed you how to be exactly that. So it's so interesting. So interesting. But one question I've got for you that, again, a lot of people don't talk about, hence why this is going to be so spicy, is, was the start of your career built on trauma?
That's an interesting question that I've never been asked. Yes and no. Like I never started, I never made a decision to come online and build an online business.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times on interviews I've been asked, when did you decide to be an online marketer? And I was like, oh, I was making tens of millions of dollars by then. And I was like, I still haven't decided that because
Yeah.
I came out of my really strict, like perfect upbringing. And I always was meant to be a lawyer. That was like my plan, and it was the family plan. And so much so that we moved from Germany back to Australia when I was 16, purely so that I could finish high school in Australia in order to get into law at university here. So I did the thing, right? I got the marks. I performed as the A+ girl that I was meant to be and that I guess I wanted to be. And then I got to uni and I was like 3 weeks in and I was like,
3 weeks.
the rebel had already started to come out. Like the rebel had been rising for a couple of years before that. It was actually such a fascinating exercise in human psychology, hey, because I had so painted the brand identity of who I was with my teachers as being the perfect good girl that was the teachers, like the A+ student, that when I just started doing what I want in that final year or two of school, like probably not too dramatic, but I was skipping so much school and that kind of a thing. Yeah. And then at the end of year 12, class after class, I got called up and I got the award, like the top student award for every single class that I was in. And I remember even at the time being like, are you guys all right? Like I didn't even go to that class, but I would have still submitted the stuff and I would have still got the A+. I actually I thought I made that up, and I literally found those awards the other week when I was sorting out my childhood stuff. I was like, that's crazy. Like I was like not even present. So when I went to uni and no one's like overseeing you, all of a sudden I had this revelation about myself that I think a lot of people can relate to, which is like, oh, I'm just not going to do stuff. I don't want to do stuff. Like it's funny, high performers, the highest performers, which is what I coach and what I am, also are like, if it's not burning in our soul, we don't care, we're not going to do it. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything until it's the thing that comes out of me and overtakes me, right? So I just floundered out of uni. I actually I was scared to tell my parents, so I kept going and I just set up a little store at the university campus. Is a major uni in Melbourne, and I was giving students facials with my Jolie skin products, and I set up a little sign that said stress relief for students, $50 for a facial, which I was totally unqualified to do. And I did that for about 6 weeks. That was what I was doing. And then long story short, I became a personal trainer. So like out of left field of my upbringing. I mean, I sucked at sports. Like that was the only class that I would get bad grades in. And I was not cool, and I was like the awkward, clumsy person that was always picked last for everything sport related. Yeah. So somehow I become a PT, which was awesome because I had fallen in love with fitness by then, and it's sales based. And I started making so much money, and this was like 26, 27 years ago, right? Personal training had not even really hit Australia yet. Nobody had heard of it. I just had a gym manager who was from the States who taught me what to do and taught me how to sell. And I obviously took to it like a duck, like a duck to water, and I loved fitness, so it was cool. So when I came online in 2006, it was just because I had started writing a newsletter for my PT clients, and I was jamming it full of like neon heavy graphics, and my clients were like, it's taking too long to download your newsletter, your kick-ass life training newsletter to the server. And I was like, oh, one of my clients goes, you got to have a website. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't even know what that is or if it's going to last. But I built a little blog so that I didn't have to email the newsletters. That's literally how my business online started, because then I fell back in love with writing. And somehow, this was before ads, before I heard of ads anyway, somehow people around the country and even overseas started to find my blogs. And I have a gift as a writer. So my blogs were just on fitness and fat loss, but it was really always alignment and being who you're meant to be. And I was always connecting that into fitness results. So then people wanted to coach with me. So I was like, okay, I can do a phone consult. And then in 2008, I thought, I wonder if there's a way that you could somehow get like 12 people on a call together and I could, like leverage these calls. That was my first online course. It was using instant talent seminar. It was called the Body Incredible Health Talent Coaching Program. And I traveled with my then partner, who's the father of my children. Actually, we got married and we eloped in Vegas. So that was that trip. And I was making money doing these calls from like his aunt's, living room in Edmonton, Canada. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that was how online business started for me. And then I just kept going. And honestly, I could tell that story every bit up until this moment because I feel like all I've done for the 20 years since then is just keep going. So it was like, was it trauma? Well, it was definitely who I'm born to be as a writer, speaker, and coach, and just wanting to share a message. But then a lot of what came out of that, and even if we go back to the PT thing, did come from trauma because becoming a personal trainer for me was like a big up yours to the girls I grew up with, where I'm like, I will be the coolest, hottest, fittest one. And I'm a, performance driven person. So if I decide to do something, I do it. I literally created a whole career and then a very successful online fitness business. I was one of the first people in Australia to sell any kind of online fitness. And it came off the back of, I'll show you. But I wouldn't say it was misaligned, right? Because it was bringing out a part of me. I mean, I'm still an athlete. I still love training, even though it's obviously not my industry anymore. And I still coach high performers. So I feel like, the trauma thing's such an interesting one, hey, because depending what it is, and certainly depending on the person's stories, we're not always going to go, oh, gee, I'm grateful that happened. But for women like us, we're activated by a number of different things. We can be activated by purpose and destiny and who we really are. And that's ultimately what it should be that we're, like walking forward into. But then we're also activated by overcoming or by demonstrating to our kids or to others and also to ourselves, like, that's not going to break me. And so that's obviously very powerful. And then it can also be the exact stuff that can work against us if we don't, I guess, understand how to be in the dance with it.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason I ask that is because I think there's so much online right now about your trauma and you need to heal. And, it's just like, I feel as though, here's the person and everyone's just trying to rip the thing. Like, let's all just try and earn as much money as possible by ripping the thing out of somebody. And I feel as though for people like us, that was the exact thing that got us to where we wanted to be. And if we had kept it, maybe, we would have built the thing and lost it. But if you can use it to its advantage for the time being or for its purpose, I think it was, I can honestly say it was an absolute godsend for us because, that trauma was what made me keep going. That trauma that I'm going to prove you, I'll show you. Then obviously getting to a point where you're like, hey, all right, now it's time to heal these demons because I can't take it with me to the next chapter.
That's the thing. Like, that's very much my story right now because the faith perspective for me was like probably 6 years ago is when I started to feel like this is not quite it. And I was at the highest of heights. I was making so much money. Like that was, it was probably around 2018, which would have really been like a pinnacle for me where I was so famous in our industry. I was coaching the best of the best. I was living this, extraordinarily like glamorous, have it all lifestyle. And I was starting to slowly become aware that I was like a train that was speeding along and maybe not on the right tracks and maybe not even on a track at all. And that was very confusing because I spent a lot of time kind of like, all right, let me like play a game of imagine, let's burn it all to the ground, like let's blank slate this thing. What would I want to do instead, right? Like apply my own sort of principles that I taught others to really drop into alignment. And then I would be always coming back to, but this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I was born for. And so I would kind of go like, oh, all right, like, well done then. You're doing what you were born for and it doesn't feel right. It's not sitting right. What are you meant to do with that? That's confusing. And it was worrying. And I was like, I would talk publicly about this stuff. I've always been probably too transparent in the stuff I've shared, but I would mostly talk about it with my, closest people. And I would just be like, it was doing my head in for quite a few years. And I slowly started to take the foot off the brakes, and I was still like, I was coasting, because if you've built to a certain point, you're riding on a name that is based on truth. And you've also got systems and so on in place. So things were coasting. But slowly I was kind of like, oh, like it's not right. And something was ticking away inside of me. And for me, that was in the end, like one of the core, I mean, it was just a whole part of my life story, like, because my personal life, the same thing. I was like, okay, great. Like, you're living the dream, you've got it all, you're doing what you want, and it's not landing. It's still not it. What do you do when you've accomplished everything that you said you would do and it's not it? And I felt like I'm just missing something. And the beat that was inside of me, honestly, was a God-shaped beat, because that is how I grew up. And even everything I teach about purpose and destiny and alignment and being unapologetically you, when I talk, I mean, maybe not with the fire level of aggression, definitely the fire, but I hear my grandfather, who was a preacher, right? Like, that's where I got it. I got it from church. It was destiny, purpose, and alignment, and being who you were born to be. So for me, I knew the whole time that I was running from God, and I knew that what I'm meant to be doing is like all of that, but God version. And I also knew that there was a lot in my life that definitely didn't fit that picture.
Yeah.
It was like, that doesn't go with, a God identity, not like that at least.
Yeah.
So in the end, honestly, it was a I'm done now moment, because I kind of was like, I can't keep doing this. At the time I was 42. I'm like, how long you want to keep doing this? Cool. So you've got all this money, you've got all this stuff, but you're running from the deepest part of your purpose. What do you want to be, 45 and then 50 and then 55? And I honestly waved the white flag to God, and I just went, I had a 6-month relationship that I was like high on for the first 3 months. And then by the third month, I was like, all right. And I prayed, and I wasn't really praying a lot at the time in my life, but I prayed, like, if this is not the thing, God, make it fall apart. And it was with a really close friend of mine who'd been a friend for like 19 years. So it was a pretty dramatic thing to walk through. And then it fell apart. And after that, I just kind of went, I'm done. Like, whatever this is, I don't even care. I'm just done with all of it. I honestly didn't care at the time if everything just folded, even though I knew that I'm still meant to do this. And so I just went, all right, like, basically it was like I reported for duty with God. And I said, take whatever you want to take, break whatever you want to break, shake whatever you want to shake, and just wake up within me what it's really meant to be. And I really had a trust and a faith that even if I had to lose everything, like, who cares, right? Because let's just come back stronger. So I didn't care. I just trusted God in that. And I was done trying to like carry this speeding thing along that was simultaneously so who I'm born to be and then not at the same time. I don't even know what the question was now, but I guess the point of that is that through all of that,
Was it, the trauma.
yeah, I had to, right. The thing I wanted to say relevant to that is you can create a counterfeit that can look really good. And I'm not calling all my previous work a counterfeit, because there was so much in that was just the authentic fire. And it's still the things I say, like what's in my bio, right? Like, you don't need to sleep and breathe. You need to wake up and live. You need to press play on who you are. But until you've really surrendered and like handed over and actually like literally dealt with the demons in a literal sense, then you're always going to manifest some kind of a counterfeit, because it's coming from that place of, oh, like, let me show the world, or let me overcome my own pain, or let me be my own savior, or all of that sort of stuff. And for me, it was like, no, I'm done with all of that, because I don't even believe that that's possible. Like, I don't believe we're meant to save ourselves, heal ourselves, build ourselves, and be ourselves by ourselves. I believe that we're meant to be carried by supernatural grace, which is God's grace. And now, fast forward to now, I went through a year or two of letting it all fall apart when I had that surrender moment. And when I say it fell apart, like, I was still, the business was still doing well, but I really just like sat back, laid back. And then I went through a massive identity crisis where I started thinking, oh, well, maybe God wants me to be beige, and like, literally. And then bit by bit, I kind of went, oh, I get it now. Like, the unapologetic, fiery, too much, too extra woman. That is who I am. But there's a grace and a softening there that's partly just age, it's partly just maturity. But it's also the surrender piece. And it's when you're not just saying surrender, but it's actually going, no, Jesus, you take the wheel, and I'm going to trust that, your design for me is so much cooler than my own.
Yeah, so true. And I think it's a, and I keep saying people like us because I think there's a certain, box that we somewhat fit in where we operate the same, full tilt all the time, all in or nothing. And, it's been the same for us recently, where it's just a surrender into actually fully trusting that, well, I've not been wrong before. As in, I might have somewhat not got it right, but I
Yeah.
wasn't wrong.
Not at the core, deeper stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, I know that back when you were building, right, so many strategies that you would have been using don't work now, blogs being one of those, not necessarily that they don't work, but there's a million things that work 10 times faster. What would you say to somebody now? Like, what would you say to yourself if you were getting into the online space now, knowing
Yeah.
what you know with the marketing and all of those types of things? How would you build a business now?
Yeah. I would still say what I've said since at least I think 2014. I started saying this, and 2014 is around when I started really blowing up in the female entrepreneur world. Let the message be the message first and foremost. Like, the platforms will change, the modality of how you share your message will change. But I mean, I rolled out of the womb good at sales, right? Great at sales. And of course, I've done plenty of sales training over the years, but
Yeah,
or anyone that knows me knows I was never following all the proper marketing stuff. I
yeah.
had a lot of really cool friends and just people that are like literally the top of the internet marketing world that I'm close to or know. And even they were always like, how on earth are you pulling in those figures and you're literally not following any of the rules? And I was like, because I let the message be the message. And that's what I've taught for years. And what I mean by that is whatever it is that wants to come out, let it come out. No filter, no edit. So for women like us who've gone through some stuff, that can be a
Yeah.
bit of a train wreck at times, but then we just kind of swing it around
Yeah.
and
Bring
keep
it
going.
back
And
in.
also, like, it's very magnetic, even if sometimes it's magnetic, like, let's watch this train wreck. But I don't care, like, there's plenty I would pull back off the internet if I could. It's literally too much stuff to try and delete it off. But
Yeah.
I also don't care because I feel like, where are the women who are going to truly let the message, and the guys, everyone, but us, right? Like, where are the ones who are going to truly let the message be the message? And I mean, like, the raw, the real, the random, the what even is that, the that's freaking embarrassing or weird, and the unapologetic fight. You can't let the full fire out that's inside of you if you're continually trying to edit or adjust or tame that fire or make sure that it fits the right little markety shaped box in order to get it to the world. So I still believe, and I would still, like, if I lost it all, nobody knew who I was, I had to totally start again, but I had the knowledge I have now. Two things. Firstly, I would let the message be the message every single day in some way, shape, or form. I don't care how. I do still write my blog because I love to write it and it definitely works for me. But also, yeah, I've had to learn to kind of like, oh, all right, like, swing a little bit. So it doesn't matter. Live stream, blog, podcast, reels, stories, carrier pigeon, who freaking cares? As long as it's just coming out consistently, and don't try and be on every platform. I would choose like the top 2 or 3 platforms that I like using. And because otherwise I'm not going to do it, because I know myself well
Yeah.
enough to know that I won't. So I don't care. I'll just do the thing that I can do consistently. Letting the message be the message means you're the messenger. You're there to deliver what's inside of you and let it out the way it is inside of you. You are not the editor or the critic of your own message. As soon as you start doing that, like, anything more than a spell check, you're just squeezing the life force right out of it. And you're now just another Stepfordpreneur. Nobody cares. So I would do that. But
So good.
the other thing I would do that I also would have been good if I did it earlier rather than procrastinating for like 8 years, is systems, but basic systems, not every system that's ever been known to the
Yeah.
internet, and not whichever systems that whoever's apparently the current self-appointed god of the internet is in charge of. Just simple stuff, like simple automations. When I finally built my first funnel, it was 2014. I'd been putting it off for 6 years because I felt like it's scary and I didn't know how to do it. And I also didn't want to do it. I just wanted to write and speak and shop. And in the end, all I did was grab like 3 really fiery blogs or pieces that I'd written that had gone off at the time. And then I grabbed, like a client case study or something like that. And I just put a little 5 email sequence together. And that simple funnel that took me less than 90 minutes to make when I finally pulled my finger out and built it, made, well, not directly millions, but it was a basis for millions of dollars of revenue. And I still do my systems that way. I still avoid them for ages and procrastinate. And then eventually I'm like, oh my gosh, like reeling out instructions to my assistants and just build something really fast based on what's firing right now, what's working. So I'm not the person that is like looking at the numbers and making adjustments. But that being said, I do have someone who runs my ads and he obviously does all of that. So it's not that it's not there. So I would bring that in again as well if I was starting over. But if you're starting over or you're starting earlier and you're probably not really affording to hire someone to do your ads or even as an assistant, that's how I started. I did all my own ads. I was my own assistant and all that. So I don't want to hear any complaints from anyone about that. You just wear all the hats. And you just keep it super simple though, because a lot of people who are earlier on or starting out, it's so easy for anyone, and even, you know, for those of us who've been doing it for ages, you can so easily just get distracted. Oh, well, maybe I should be doing that. And actually she's really polished like that. And maybe my problem is whatever. And it's like, just stop it. If you can just let the message be the message every day and make it a non-negotiable, and then give a call to action at the end of that message, and then somewhere along the way, grab some of those messages, download them and chuck them into a, you know, automation, an email sequence, then you're going to be honestly light years ahead of 99.9% of people are trying to make money online. And then you can start to add in, you know, the fine tuning stuff if you want to.
Yeah, so true. And I think there's this stigma out there, you know, that I've seen growing over the last few years where it's like, I want to be in flow and money comes to me easily. And I'm just like, no, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't. There needs to be an era of somewhat hustle. Do the freaking work. And I see these people that are trying to rest before they ran. You know, it's like there's all these people that are puffing at the start line. I'm like, well, you haven't even started yet, you know? And I think this is where a lot of the damage is coming from right now for businesses online. Why haven't I got the results? It's like your expectations far outweigh capabilities of what marketing's actually capable of doing. You know, 4 weeks of running an ad is not going to completely change your life. 4 weeks of an organic strategy.
Yeah, but I also think discipline has such a bad rap, and people don't understand that discipline, like I want to be in flow, and guess when I'm in flow? When I'm like pushed to my max and then I push harder and keep going, like whether it's athletically or it's here, right? It's when I don't want to, and then I'm disciplined, because discipline is a gateway to flow. You know, I'm in flow mostly when I'm doing the things that in my mind or my emotions I'd really rather not bother with, or I've got excuses, or I feel like, oh, it's repetitive, or it's this or that. So it's both, right? Because the flow happens on the other side of discipline. I think that's one of the missing links that people don't understand. It's not either or. And it's also like, yeah, okay, rest for a minute, right? Like have that pause period where you're like, okay, I got to catch the beat, you know, or, oh, I remember I did an interview years ago with Grant Cardone, and my friend and I went to his studio in Miami, and we were talking before we filmed about, or maybe it was on the interview, I don't know, being burnt out. And he was like hopping up and down, like that man is like energized. And he's pretty sure he was jumping up and down like an energizer bunny rabbit. He's like, burnt out. What does burnt out mean? You're not a candle. You can't burn out. I was like, yeah. But it's like, all right, so you overwhelmed, your burnout. Okay, cool. Have a massage and then get up and keep going, because the work is the cure a lot of the time. The thing that you don't want to do is the activator that you're looking for to do the thing that you don't want to do. So it's got to be both. Like literally my current course at the moment is called Discipline, Flow, and the Holy Ghost.
Wow, there you go. And it's exactly what you said, you know, with the fact that when you don't want to do it, on the other side of that, you get the reward. It's on the other side of the thing that you don't want to do. So I love that. Kat, I'm so grateful for your time, but I want to leave you with one question to answer. What was the one book, podcast, audio, whatever, that literally smacked you in the face, but you actioned, that you would share?
I'll show you because I'm next to my bookcase. It will be anything. Sorry, I don't know if I was showing half my butt then.
That's okay.
Anything by Stephen Pressfield. Like honestly, like Turning Pro, The War of Art,
Pressfield.
The Artist's Journey. These books changed my life. I love how he's like, each chapter is like that long. They're really short.
This is good for my brain.
Right? Each chapter is like a complete thought. Some of the chapters are like that long. It's literally just do the work. That the whole thing is about do the work. I loved those books. I haven't actually read them for ages, but they're clearly like right there next to me, that when you ask that question, I can pick them up. Because that, you know why? Because I think we all need something that just validates who we are in the end.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my gosh, like there's actually no fancier answer to this. You know, a lot of the time people go, oh, how did you finally do this or that? Or like write my first book, for example, in 2011. Because I just did. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have a more dramatic answer for you, because I finally just did. That's the answer.
Yeah. And I've found that myself when people ask, you know, like, how do you continue to just launch super successful companies? And I'm like, we just do. I don't know. You know, it's just, I mean, like writing for you is creativity, and business for me in like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring that thing to life, you know? And I think, you know, the more that people just, I'm not scared, and same with you, I'm not scared of the hard bit. Whereas I think people get scared of the hard bit before they even get there.
We could talk all day. I feel like it's a lot harder to go to bed at night knowing that once again you didn't, you know, like it's not how much work do I got to do, it's who do you want to be? You want to be the person that actually lets what's inside of them out. Yes, that is going to require work, my friend. So let's stop calling it a dirty word, right?
Yeah. Do you think that in this journey, Kat, that you have shown your kids what determination, motivation, and discipline looks like at the end of the day, whether we somewhat fucked it up a little bit?
Oh yeah,
do you think,
definitely.
Do you see in them now those attributes?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think that, you know, and I just believe that by the grace of God, they'll, you know, take the things that are good and, you know, understand. And I think as parents, we have to be so transparent with our kids as well, especially these days. So yeah, I definitely have. And they've seen other areas where I've repeatedly not done what I said I was going to do, often to do with sorting stuff out in the house, to be honest, but sometimes with more dramatic things than that. And then where I've had conversations where I'm like, yeah, I did say that I was going to do that and I didn't do that. And, you know, here's my reason why. And now I'm going to do it. Yeah. So they've definitely learned that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I think people are going to take so much from it. It doesn't matter where you're at. You know, we can still sit here and go, we kind of fucked it up a little bit in several areas, and it's okay. Just keep going. As long as you can just be better, you've nailed it.
You can't, you know, you can't avoid screwing things up as a human. So you might as well screw them up on the road to purpose.
100%. Yes. So where can people find you, Kat? Where can people come and check out this new program?
Well, that one will probably already be closed by the time this goes live because I create so frequently.
Yep.
But you can go to katrinaruthministries.com and there's a programs page on there, or jump on my IG, which is under Katrina Ruth Ministries as well. I have a podcast called the Faith, Fire and Flow podcast. The podcast is pretty like fiery and fast paced, and it's just like literally I strip the audios off of my live streams, or my team does that. So those are some places, and honestly, like my DMs are always open. I just want to be in the combos with the people that are doing the thing.
Love it. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you. This was awesome.
Yes.